Okay, I'm going to transfer this pattern to my Bisqueware. You can do it with a Stadler Triplus fine liner that will go through the tissue. So I laid the tissue over the pattern, traced it with pencil, and now I'm going to transfer it. You can also use clay carbon. So I'm going to do the clay carbon this time. So all you need to do is trace over your lines. Either pencil, you can use stylus. You do want to check to make sure it's coming through. So this is just a quirky little set of birds, chickens. I'm just going to draw a few of these. We don't need all of them. Again, double check to make sure you can see it. If you are on stoneware or porcelain, you can use a Sharpie, ultrafine Sharpie marker and go through the tissue. We don't recommend that for earthenware. It will burn off, but the Sharpie has been known to repel color, or as it burns off, you have a white line on your bisque. So keep that in mind. I'll draw a couple of these. I'm going to leave it at that. Okay, so this. And if you want them to have feet, we're just going to make little easy peasy, simple. Okay. All right, now I'll get my colors together and we'll come back and paint. All right, so what we're going to do is create a background behind these to start with. And I'm going to use 121 maize. Shake your colors. This is a color concentrate, so it is a translucent underglaze. Shake well. We're also going to put some CSP01 gloss medium with the color, because that's going to aid us in being able to manipulate and move it around and put it where we want it. And then I'm going to use some Aqua Splash LE003 Aqua Splash. Same thing, equal parts with the medium. Mix those up. Okay, then I'm going to create a wash. So I'm going to put a little bit of water over here and some here. I'm going to grab my medium sumi brush, wet my brush. Always start with the light color. So I'm going to grab 2 scoops or 2 brush loads of it into the water. Keep it mixed up. Remember, the color is heavier than water, so it does tend to fall to the bottom. And actually, I want this color around the outside. And then we're going to go to the aqua as we get in. So constantly move the brush around, change the direction that you're aiming it so that you don't have little, what I call rabbit tracks. Rinse that brush. I want to push some of this back off. Okay, and then I'm going to grab 1 scoop of that Aqua Splash. It's a stronger color, so we don't need. I'm going to start it near the middle, and we should be able, if you get it on top of some of this, it's okay. The other colors are going to be darker. And then overlap it in to the yellow. If we need to, we can put the pattern back on. Not going to worry about them. So I'm just going back over again to deepen it a little, especially up next to the design. I'm going to rinse my brush, and out here where they meet, I'm just going to soften that edge. And by having the medium and the color, it allows us to do this. It stays open longer and allows you to manipulate it. All right. I think I want another color out here. Let's do orange, Florida orange 116. Again, add your CSP01. And I'm just going to add it to the yellow. Just put some more water in there. Keep that stirred up. And then I'm going to go this direction, just around the edge. Whoops, wrong. I dipped into the pure color. Remember to go to the bottom of your puddle because the color falls to the bottom. Okay, rinse. Then just come back with water and soften that edge where they meet. Now, I also want to take and do some like drippy marks around the edge. So I'm going to take a liner brush, preferably a long liner that's longer than our regular. This happens to be a 5150, but any script liner is what it would be called. And let's start. I'm actually just going to thin the pure color just a little bit with some of that wash. And then I'm just going to drag it on the edge and allow that color. It's not thin enough. Let's do the wash instead on top of there. Okay, I'm going to stop and do some of the aqua. I'm just adding more color to that wash so you can see. And then go back with that orange. Okay, I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and I'm going to add some red later on that. Okay, so I'm going to take a Taklon square shader, slightly dampened, and just kind of scoot off, push back some of that color that was in our background that got on the area. Constantly rinse your brush because you're just moving the color, not removing it, if you don't wipe it off or rinse it off. I'm not too concerned about the tail, but I'll take a little bit off. All right. So let's this one out. Okay, we know that the comb and the wattle are going to be red. So I'm going to use 112 Candy Apple Red. Again, I'm going to add a little bit of the medium. It doesn't have to be equal parts, but I'm doing that because I'm going to flood the color on, and I want the glaze, the medium gives it a little bit of a sticky to it, meaning it will adhere to the piece. Okay, so I'm just going to slightly thin, and I'm just going to put water in a well, and I'll grab it as I need it. So I'm just going to grab a little bit, thin one corner, and we're going to stand up. Let me go to the side camera. So stand up straight and just let that flood in. If it doesn't seem thin enough, add a little more water. So I'm just standing straight up, and you can't see that on the side camera. Straight up, let the color or the tip of the brush touch the wear, and it just sucks it in. It just grabs and pulls it in, and that's what we're looking for. You don't want to apply it full strength, the color, because it's going to be too heavy and you could have cracking and popping off. So definitely thin it down like I'm doing. All right, and then we've got some on her. Let's give her the same red. So you can almost outline it and then flood it in. So you're just letting it flood off the tip of the brush. And I'm using the number 3600 number 2 liner that I outline with. And these are sassy and quirky, so we're going to give her some red lips or beak. She's going to be sassy. All right. Let's go back up here. Zoom in a little bit. So one coat should be enough. If you see that it might be a little lighter in areas, you could come back and add just a touch more. But multiple thin coats are always better than one thick heavy coat. Now, I want to drip some of this red also along the outside. Get it thin enough. Sometimes you gotta give it a little help. Depends on how thin it is, how dry the area is underneath also. We need to give her a little bit of a cheek. So I'm going to grab my stubby brush, and I'm going with this same red with the medium. Load it up and then stipple it out so that you have like a bad hair day. And then we're just going to tap that in to give her a cheek. And he doesn't need one. Okay. So let's take a little bit of 123 sunflowers. And I'm going to take the small sumi brush, wet it, and then I'm just going to grab some of that yellow so it thins it down slightly. And let's do her little belly. Put some color in there. And I can put some on him also. Remember, these are quirky and weird. So let's grab some of the orange mix also. And put some of that. I'm going right over that red. And let's see, let's put some of it on him. I'm going to rinse. I'm going to go into that aqua with a little bit of water on my brush, slightly thinned. And I'm going to make her wing. Start with the aqua. And I'm going to put some of it on his tummy. So you could use any color combination that you wanted. This is just very whimsical. I'm going to rinse and soften that edge. Okay. So that maze that we had, if we soften it by just diluting it with some water. I'm going to add some of it on the top of her head and do the same. We can do the same with him. just to get some color on there. I'm going to go right over his eye. Okay. Let's tip into a little, I did not rinse, tip into a little bit of orange. And kind of shade by just touching the tip of the brush, still with the small sumi. And we already have some orange on her, so let's add that coming up and around. All right, I think we need some, I want to add some purple. And because the purples tend to burn out, either go with a color stroke purple or go a little bit heavier. So I'm going to go with 137 bright violet, adding some of the medium to it also. And I'm going to add this to the back of her wing, believe it or not. Like I said, this is just a very whimsical, quirky bird. Okay, so I have water in my brush and I'm tipping into the purple. And let's add some of that purple up here. I'm going a little bit heavier with it because remember I said this tends to burn out. Let's add a little bit down here on one of his legs. Now when I said the purple burns out, that's only usually on the stoneware and porcelain. This particular piece is earthenware, so it should be fine. All right, we need that square shader to kind of get rid of the color that's down here. I want to get my points back. You can go back and put that wash of color in there. I'm going to just touch into that same yellow on this brush so I can get it down in that fine point. Okay. All right, let's put a little bit of purple on her belly also. Water load, dry off to a point, tip into that purple. I'm going to add some to her over here. Then on her tail feathers, I'm going to do purple and tip in red. So I'm going to fully load the 3600 number 2 liner, tip into that red color pretty generously, and pull in that little tail. Retip for each stroke. Reload for each stroke, I should say. purple and the red. Okay. I want to make sure the eyes get some of that yellow, the 23. And let's add it to his. We also need to put it on his beak, and then I'll come back with some darker. All right, so back to the little hearts that I wanted to do. So with the 112 Candy Apple Red, we're going to grab, see, that's just not going to work. I need, let's use a pencil. Put 2 dots side by side and then drag it down. Okay. So 1, 2, and pull it down. Now, if you didn't like that, of course you can do it with your liner brush. You can come in and actually shape it, but that just is another way that you can do them. Kind of fun. Like I said, quirky. I also want to put some purple and some red dots. We have the wipeout tool. It's the shape of a candy kiss, the RD66. And it doesn't jam into your color. It's softer than what a metal dotting tool or stylus would be. I'm going to go right into the 12, or excuse me, into the purple. and you could use any color combination. We can also splatter this to give it some color. All right, let's see. I could do some of the aqua. We can even do some white. Now, if you're going to do the white, I definitely would use the 602 white because it's more opaque, the color stroke white. So I'm using the same colors on both to make them kind of match. You could make them completely different if you wanted. Maybe a few orange ones. Let's add some white to that. And we'll put some detailing lines on the rest of it. Kind of fun. All right, we need a darker yellow on his beak. So I'm going to go to the 125 curry. And I'm going to use the liner brush. And just kind of do a couple of strokes there that will accent that. Let's add this to her eye. Also going to add this to their legs. We'll put black on there too. I'm going to soften this purple there. I'm going to take some of the sunflowers and kind of pull up a stroke on those head feathers. All right. Now we need some black. We're going to thin the black with water. Kind of get your pattern back out. I'm going to take and just kind of give her texture, and then I'm just going to come in to create her wing. And I always say that if you give them kind of a wiggly or nervous outline, then you don't have to be exactly straight. And I think it adds to the quirky part of it. Let's give her some eyelashes. And he's got a big old eye here. Now I'm not so sure that I like the drips around the outside, but oh well. It is what it is, right? All right, then for his tail feathers, we'll just do some black line work. Thick and thin. Oh, we have to do her beak. You can dress up her tail a little bit if you want to put some black like I did on his. Pretty sweet. We could put some tiny to just reinforce her little cheek a little bit of the red. All right. There you go. Let's mist it to see what it looks like. Pretty cute. Okay, I'm going to do another version of the birds. I'm going to use 160 key lime mixed with the gloss medium NT clear. I've also got 150 light cerulean mixed up and LE003 aqua splash. Okay, we're going to make washes of these for the background. So in another well, you're going to have water. Start from lightest to dark. So I'm going to start with the blue. And it's going to kind of go in the middle, and then the aqua is going to be at the top. So I'm going to go 2 scoops of color into that water. Got the medium sumi brush. Make sure you keep that stirred as you're working. Start at the top. I've already transferred my design. And come down halfway or so. So you're just doing a slip, slap, mush, mush, I call it, constantly turning your brush so that not to create necessarily a pattern. Keep that stirred up. Okay. Then I'm going to go into the Aqua Splash. Get a healthy scoop of it. I'm going to start with 1 scoop, and we're going to add it at the very top, about half to a third of the way that you came down on the blue. Okay. Rinse that, and then go into the key lime. We're going to do 1.5 to 2 scoops of color. And come up to and overlap into that blue. take just a clean brush and water and soften or clean up any areas that you need to push it back off of your design. This is a commercial piece of low fire or earthenware bisque that the same process could be done on stoneware and porcelain. Doesn't matter what your clay body is, it would work the same. And push it kind of off of these tail feathers. Now, if you go over it again, just do it at the very bottom so that it's a little bit darker than the rest. Keep that stirred up as you're working. Okay. If you see an area you don't like, maybe it's too strong, or you see brush marks, you can just come back with water and do that same motion and soften that area. All right, so I'm going to let that dry. And as you can see, my green went underneath. So let's go ahead and put the green on the bottom just to clean that up. So the nice thing about adding the medium to your color is it leaves it open longer and allows you to manipulate and move it around. So I can swish it off, I can add more, I can take water and thin it, and it makes it for a nice finish. So the word medium is an extender and opener, allows that to stay open longer to allow you to do that. Just check for any other drip marks. Okay, so what I'm going to do is do the same thing to the inside here. So I'm going to add the blue. So I just drew a wavy line. To create a border. And I added one of those funky little flower buds. and gave you the illusion that the stem of it is going to go into that. Okay, then let's take the aqua and add it to the outer edge up against that line. To make it a little bit darker. All right, then we're going to do the green in the middle. That way it matches your bottom. Okay. All right, I'm going to let this dry for a minute while I get my colors mixed up. The colors are going to be the same as what we did on, and we have flowers on this, but on the other quirky chickens, we're as close to it as I can make it. Sometimes your brush wants to do its own thing. I'm just pushing some of that color off of there. All right. Okay. I applied those washes to the inside of this also. I've dried it. So now what we need to do is I've got the 121 maize mixed with the gloss medium. And we're going to take the small sumi brush and I'm going to put some water here. We're going to thin it down, but we're not going to make a wash. So I'm just going to grab some water on my brush and just thin one corner. And we're going to apply this to the body of this little gal. So just making it very thin. And we're going to come back over it and add another color. We're also going to apply this on the head feathers, I guess you could call it. And let's put it up here also. We'll come back and deepen it later. We can also put a little bit off to one side of his body. And where else did I? Okay. Then we've got some orange. This is 116 Florida orange. same deal. Add the gloss medium. Stir it. And then by creating a thin application, just by grabbing some of your water, then down one corner of that. And let's put some of that up here. Because we have the medium in the color, we're able to manipulate it and move it around where we want it. Let's add a little bit of that up here on his head also. Okay. Just with some water, you can soften the edge. I'm going to go back and add a little bit of that yellow there. Make sure. Okay. And then I want some of the orange up against this wing. Always point your brush where you want the color, because that's where you picked it up, was on the tip of the brush. And it can go all the way around. All right, then we need some 125 curry. And the medium. Also need the 112 candy apple red. Add the medium. Also want to go ahead and get out some purple, 137, bright violet, medium, I'm going to take the stubby brush and get some of that red, load it, and then pounce it out. And then I'm going to just stipple on her little cheek. Okay. And he doesn't have anything on him. All right, and then we need some of the purple. I want it kind of over on her belly, is how I did it on the other one. So with water in my brush and tipping into the purple, tuck that purple. Now if you're working on stoneware or porcelain, you may need to go to the 637 or 636 color stroke. Here's the bright purple in the color stroke, just because it's going to hold better, or you need to go a lot stronger with the application. All right, let's put some on his leg over here. give him a little bit of color. And I also want to put some under his eye. So you can use any color combination you want. This just, I'm doing funky, making them nice and bright, colorful, quirky. These are my quirky birds. Okay. I want to put some of the aqua splash on the other side of him. I'm going to start with the wash in my brush and then tip into the color full strength. Well, it's been diluted, but I'm going to take the liner brush, the 3600 number 2. I'm going to take that wash, but I'm going to go over into the aqua splash just to thin it down some. And on this pod here, I'm going to just pull in a couple of strokes there. I'm also going to get some 151 out. And let's do the purple. So you could make these any color combination you wanted. Let's do orange. All right, now I'm going to take the small sumi brush, water load, drag off to a point, tip into a color, in this case the purple, and I'm going to shade the bottom of that one. Rinse that, and now I'm going to shade red. Let's do green. Okay, while that is drying, we're going to do the red. So we need to thin the, I'm using the liner brush. I'm going to thin the red down just one little corner here. And we're going to flood in. So I'm literally, let's get closer. Let the brush touch the surface. It'll grab what color is there and just kind of suck it up or absorb it. But it is thinned. It's not full strength. So let's do the side camera. Let's see if we can get this where you can see. So watch how much I'm just barely touching the surface and the color is just falling off of the brush and absorbing into the wear. You're just kind of gliding it or guiding it. Okay. See that? Make sure my other isn't running. Okay, I think you get the idea. Okay, I'm also going to do her. We're going to call them lips on her. Okay. All right, so we need to let that dry. So let's do the small sumi brush, water load, go into the 125 curry and tuck it at the top or where the petals will be lighter, and then we can put a darker color at the base. Set it down, mush, 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 walk it to the right and walk it to the left so that you get strong on the outside and then it fades to water towards the center. Okay. Let's put a little bit, so at these bigger openings, we're going to just shade both ends of it, and then it'll be lighter in the middle. right, we've got another flower here. Let's do the aqua. So constantly loading up. You've got water as your carrier, and the color just bleeds back into the water to give it a faded look. Let's put some, let's get some 123 sunflower yellow. Put some yellow on that one. I also want some of the cerulean. Let's put some of the 23 yellow on this one. Let's do red. Oh, the 25. A little bit of water to thin that down. We're going to do some strokes here on the head feathers. Just to reinforce. We also are going to fill in his beak and the eyes with the 23. In this 25, we're just going to kind of outline that eye a little bit. We're also going to pull in some strokes there. And I think I actually had done her eye with the 25 before. All right, we need to work on her wing. Oh, that's drying. So with the small sumi and that wash of Aqua Splash, I'll tip into the pure color, make it just a little bit darker. And then we're going to go with the purple on the back side. So water load, drag off to a point, tip generous into that purple. And let it kind of fade a little bit. All right, then her tail feathers are the liner brush. We're going to load with the purple tip and the red with the 3600. And load for each stroke. Let's tuck some red in on this guy. So I'm water loading, drag off to a point, tip in that red, and you're going to tuck that next to the center and let it bleed out. And our other one was the aqua. So let's do the cerulean 151. All right, we need to let that dry. All right. So now we're going to take our 3600 number 2 liner brush and the black, bend that down, and we're going to start detailing. So I'm going to start with this eye. So on the body, I'm just going to give it a wavy. Okay, so for his tail, you're going to do thick and thin lines. So the more pressure you put down, the thicker the line will be. Okay, so then here on this plant, we'll call it, okay, so then what you can do is create different patterns within these lines. Whether they be dots. I'm going to thin this down a little bit more. I'm going to do some hat pin strokes, which is a line with a pressure stroke on the end of it. So press and lift. Keep that brush loaded so you get that nice round bottom on it. And like on this one here, maybe you have stripes. We can do just a wiggly line. And then you can do little dots. Maybe we want white dots. And then you can even have some curls. And that just makes it even more whimsical. We'll add some dots on this after I get it So just a nervous outline. So we can even come in here. All right, now let's put some dots of white in here. You can even come in and you can put dots on that stem. Pretty cute. Fun. Kind of, what's that? Mackenzie Childs, Mary Englebright kind of a look to it. All right, so let's do her. All right, there she is. She's cute. You could put a little line here if you wanted for her cheek. All right, so I did a thicker line for the stem of this one. Just so we could put some dots on it. Okay, and before we had little whimsy type petals. I kind of like those. You're just doing fine little lines. You're up on the tippy toe of the brush so you can keep those thin lines. So let's make this one come from here. Now, because I have a thick line over here, I need a thicker one over here so that it doesn't look strange. And so your eye isn't drawn to that. Okay, what else did we do? We made curls coming off of it, and we have dots on the center. Okay, then white dots. They could be, gosh, dark green dots. You can pretty much do anything you want. And then we did have dots on the stem. Just to make it kind of stand out, break it up a little bit. All right, what do we want to do on this guy? Let's do some darker green dots. stripes. And then we'll put a little dot in each one. And maybe some dots in this other. Maybe groups of 3. And then we just need to pull in the little curls. Such fun. All right, let's pull another. All right, looky there. You could add white dots on here if you wanted, but I think we're okay. All right, so I'm going to let that dry. I added accents there. I want an accent here and maybe here. We could pull to kind of tie them together. I've got some other curly cues on that guy down there, so we can. Like that. All right, I'm going to put one more on this guy. And then I'm going to let that dry so that I can do the inside. But while it's drying, I can come over here and do my tray. So just add whatever detail you want. So maybe we want some white dots on this red. of that stem like we did the others. I think that'll be fine. That's pretty cute. Pretty darn cute. I did not do anything on the back of it. Alright, so let's see if I can attempt to do this on the inside. I think it is done. Okay, so we're going to use the craft foam brush. I'm going to dampen it just to get some water in here. So it's the shape of a house. So your rim is going to go in the middle of that roof area. You're never going to touch the side. It has a hard stick inside there. And when you touch it to your wear, you end up um, scraping off what you're trying to put on. So it's awful harsh. So you'll need to go around it a couple of times. And then because of all the black, even though this is 04, I am going to set this and then I'll come back and glaze it. Okay, I'm going to let that dry. Let's put an edge on this. All right, so you'll do that a couple of times till it's solid, and then I would fire it back to, if you've got an 06 firing going, you can do that, or you can do an 04. Then apply 2 coats of clear glaze, depending on what surface you're working on. If you're on earthenware, you're going to use 2 coats of my gloss medium, CSP01. If you're on stoneware porcelain, I recommend that you use Mako's SW004 Zinc Free Clear. Zinc Frees tend to hold the pinks and purples, which we have on here, and that way they don't fade out. Hope you enjoyed the project, and happy painting.